Hello everyone, hopefully you're doing well. In this video, we're going to start with chapter one in quantitative reasoning. This chapter would focus most of all to help you develop the quantitative reasoning skills you will need to succeed in other college courses so in your career or in your life as a citizen in an increasingly complex world. This chapter, the whole course, quantitative reasoning, requires a combination of basic mathematical skills and an ability to approach problems in a critical and analytical way. So for these reasons, we devote, our time to verify ideas of logic that will help you think critically, not only on quantitative issues, but more generally about distinguishing facts from fictions or disinformation in the media. So, this is very important nowadays because we're living right now in what is called the media age because we are in almost constant contact with media of some sort. I don't know if you know if you remember, we have those mainstream medias, like the regular TV, radio stations, and also we have the social media right now. Media, that goes very quick. Some of the media's content is printed in books, newspapers, and magazine, and display on billboards sometimes, or everywhere you can share information. Much more is delivered electronically through the internet. Many media never print anything out. So that's something you need to understand. The deliver it not only through the internet, tablets, smartphone, TV, even through the media, to the movies. If you watch movies lately, you would see they would stop the movie at any times and they would there would be some commercials. Most people rely on those media sources for information, which means they form opinions and beliefs based on these sources. But are those information very accurate? No. Much of this information in media is either inaccurate or biased. It all depends on the journalist's feelings, affiliations. That's very important to do it. It's designed less to inform us than to convince us of something that may or may not be true. So, as a result, making sense of modern media information requires what is often called media literacy. Okay, so it's a deep understanding of the many ways in which people may try to manipulate your views. So what we're gonna do in this first unit right here, okay, we will explore a few of the tools that can help you navigate media sources intelligently. Okay, so these tools will also provide a foundation for the critical thinking and quantitative reasoning that we will focus on in the rest of this book. So, thinking critically in this first section, let's see living in the media age, the concept of logic argument. So if you read the comments that follow many news articles on the web, you will often see heated discussions that might look like this arguments. So that's very important to sometimes look at those as informations we can probably share or agree with, but see the logic part of it. So those are arguments that's comments you can see. All right. We can use skills of logic. That's the study of the methods and principle of reasoning. Arguing logically may still not change, either person position, but it can help them understand each other. So in logic, the term argument, logic is the study of the methods and principles of argument. So in logic, the term argument refers to a reason or thoughtful process. Especially an argument is use a set of facts or assumptions, okay? That we call premises to support a conclusion. So that's very important to know that, okay? Some arguments providing very strong support for their conclusions, but some others not. All right. So that's something you can see also. An argument that fails to make a compelling case for its conclusions may contain some error in reasonings, or we call that fallacy. Okay? A fallacy is a deceptive argument, an argument in which the conclusion is not well supported by the premises. Remember, if you use facts or assumptions, it's a premises, but if what you use cannot support the premises, so it's a fallacy. So we provide those definitions here, and hopefully you can see what it is. Some common fallacies people might see, fallacies in the media are so common that it's nearly impossible to avoid them. So fallacies often sound persuasive despite their logic errors, because public relation specialists have spent billions of dollars researching how to persuade us to buy products. You need to see how the number of commercials on TV, on the media. Anytime you try to play a video, you have those, and they want us. It's the same for the candidates, those who run for elected positions, right? Uh, they try to persuade us to vote for candidates or support particular policies. We need to begin this study of critical thinking by analyzing examples of a few of the most common fallacies. So each of those fallacies has a name, but learning their names is far less important than learning to recognize the faulty reason because these skills will help you to think critically about all types of arguments you may see in the media. So one of these, we can call it appeal to popularity. So that's one of the fallacies. Remember, we said fallacy is a deceptive argument. That means an argument in which the conclusion is not well supported by the premises. This chapter is about thinking critically. So appeal to fallacy, uh, you know, we may have different examples to explain this. So many people believe something is true, therefore it's true. Ford makes the best pickup trucks in the world. More people drive pickup trucks than any other light trucks, right? So because everyone do it, for us, the premise is because many people do it, so we would conclude that it is the best pickup truck as a conclusion. So we can say the premise is more people drive Ford pickups than any other light truck. So what we would conclude then, Ford makes the best pickup trucks in the world. So that's appeal to popularity, right? So it's not because something is popular that means it's true, right? This argument suffers from fallacy of appealing to popularity, in which they find that large numbers of people believe or act some way is used inappropriately as evidence that the belief or action is incorrect. So that's one of the examples. We talked about appeal to popularity. Second fallacy, common fallacies you can see, uh, it's the false cause. Okay, if this false cause, so this argument suffers. For this one, I can give you an example. I place the quartz crystal on my forehead. And in 5 minutes, my head was gone. My headache was gone. No, that's false causes. The crystal made my head go and my headache goes away. Do you believe that? If you pull a quartz crystal on your forehead, that's what make your headache go. go away. Do you believe in this? You know, that means if, as a definitions, we can assume that for false cause, A can be for B, therefore A cause B, right? So because I do something, so I press because the premise is right there is I place a quartz crystal on my head in my forehead, and another one 5 minutes later, my headache was gone. So I would conclude that crystal make my headache goes away. So at some point, this is how we would identify, those causes. You know, we can represent this fallacy with a diagram in which A and B represent two different events. So in this case, A is the event of putting the crystal on the forehead, and B is the event of the headache goes away. So false, as we said, is a false fallacy. Okay. That's something we need to check also. Appeal to ignorance, right? Uh, Appeal to ignorance. So if something happened and you don't know about it, then it's never happened. There is no proof that P is true, therefore P is false, right? If we take an examples like some people said there were alien visiting the Earth because you have no proof to show that alien visited Earth, so we would conclude aliens never visit Earth. So that's something appeal to ignorance. If I don't know about something, that means it's not true. A hasty generalization, remember, we try to go with many of this, okay? So hasty, um you know, generalization, if we have two premises, A and B are linked one or few times, therefore A causes B, right? So, for example, two cases of children leukemia have occurred along the street where the high voltage power lines run. So the power lines must be the cause of this illness. So if you can identify at least two cases in which something happened, then you would conclude this is how it's happened, right? So if I have a stomach ache because I ate chocolate and you know chocolate made with a special ingredients, maybe spicy chocolate. And I know two other people that has a stomachache after eating spicy chocolate. So I would conclude spicy chocolate causes stomachache. So that's what we call hasty generalization. Limit choice. Remember, we're trying to make a list of most of the fallacies, common fallacies. So one of them is the limit choice. So we said what is limit choice? If P is false, only Q can be true, right? So if I mean, an example, you don't support the president, so you are not a patriotic American. You know, is that true? If you don't support the Americans, so the president automatically, people would tag you of not being a patriotic American. So the premise don't you don't support the American, then you are not a patriotic. So that cannot be true, right? So that is a false one. Okay, so it's not because you don't support the president, meaning you are not a real American, you don't love your country, right? So appeal to emotions, that's something we use a lot in life, in daily life. P is associated with a positive emotion responses, then P is true, right? So usually in ads, for example, either for juice, for milk, for tires, if someone said it's true, then you would believe it. So, for example, in ads for Firestone tires, for example, you know, a picture of a baby is shown with the words because so much is riding on your tires, right? So if we consider this to be an argument at all, it has the form you love your baby. so you should buy it. So what happened? They play on your emotions. They know people love babies. They're gonna include a baby in the ads, and then all of the sudden, if you don't buy this product, that means you don't love your baby. So that's something you need to be very careful with. But we said this fallacy, it's appeal to emotion. So everything we do, as I said, it can be popularity because false causes, ignorance because you don't know, generalization is because it's very kind of similar to popularity, but that's not the same. Limit to choices. Emotions is like they play on us. Personal attack. Yeah, that's another one. We have so many of these, but personal attack is another one. I have a problem with the person or group claiming P, so P is not true. All of a sudden, if I don't like someone, so that person is an evil. So that personal attack. So I would, you know, I don't only hurt that person, but I am I am helping or I am promoting false claims to make other people hit I mean hit that person as well without any proof. Okay, so that's what it is. I have a problem with the person or group claiming P, therefore P is not true. So circular reasoning. So for the circular reasoning, so it's something different. It's like a circle. P is true, so P would be true for any time. Society has an obligation to provide health insurance because health care is a right of citizenship. So this argument said that the conclusions before the premise, the conclusions that society has an obligation to provide health insurance before the premises, healthcare is a citizen right. So it's a fair comment and it's generally acceptable. So, the conclusion both say essential the same thing, right? So it's an obligation to have healthcare and it's a citizen right. Um, we have two more, I believe, diversions. Yeah, diversions. Diversions is mostly P is related to Q, and I have an argument concerning Q. Therefore, Q is true, right? What we mean by that, we should not continue to fund, for example, cloning research because there are so many ethical issues involved. So, I would say strong ethical foundations are necessary to the proper functioning of society. So we cannot afford to have too many ethical loose ends. So what happened, I provide a conclusions, and based on that conclusions, I can say, okay, this is what I want. Okay. Strawman is very popular as one of the false fallacies. I have an argument concerning a distorted version of P. Therefore, I hope you are fooled into concluding I have an argument concerning the real versions of it, right? Let me explain this one. I'm going to use a different examples to explain this one. So we said that suppose that the mayor of our city here, let's say the mayor of Providence, propose decriminalizing drug possession in order to reduce overcrowding in jails and save money on enforcement. So his challenger in the upcoming elections says the mayor doesn't think there is anything wrong with drug, but I do, right? So they use what the proposal of the mayor. Remember, the mayor's proposal for discriminalizing is designed to solve the problem of overcrowded jails and tell us nothing about his general views on drug use, right? So the speaker has put words in the mayor's mouth. So we need to be careful of it. I know we have plenty of examples, but the most important, anytime we would review some of the those claims. Remember, we have a lot of claims, either appeal to popularity or other things. So first of all, you need to identify the premises. Remember what we said about premises. Premises is the fact, all right? Is an argument used a set of facts or assumptions to support a conclusion. So you need to, we call it premises, and you can identify premises and conclusions. Let's go with an examples very quick because we have a few examples to support this living in the media age. Remember, our goal here is to review some examples about the media. Um, I'm gonna do one or two of these. Let me copy. I'm gonna copy number one and make enough space for one. Okay, let's say for one. Consider the following examples of fallacies. Identify the premise or premises and conclusions of the argument. That's part A. Then part B, briefly describe how the stated fallacy occurs in the same argument. And then for C, we need make up another argument that exhibit the same fallacy. So we can try to go with the first two for now and probably come back with some other examples later. Okay, so let's go with the first one. I'm gonna try to write here. It says that um, it's about appeal to popularity. Not all the time it would tell you which one it is. Remember, appeal to popularity. I give you an example. Many people believe P is true, then P is true, right? So because so many people ride Ford or so many people has a Toyota, we would say Toyota is the best vehicles ever, right? Apple's iPhone outsell all other smartphones, so they must be the best smartphone on the market, right? So what they ask us to do, identify the premises. Remember, the premises is what you believe it's true. We might have one or two premises, okay? So what is the fact? What you can verify here in that sentence? What is the premise? Apple's iPhone outsell all other smartphones. That should be your premise because the reason why it's premise is something you can verify. You can ask for the sales report, and you can even Google and find out about this information. So this is the premise because that's something we can verify at any time, right? All other smartphone. Okay. So what's the conclusions then? Conclusions is, you based on this answer, we would say that now they must be the best smartphone on the market. Remember, we identify these two. Not all the time, the first part of the sentence is the premise. Sometimes the conclusions come first. But in this case, the premise Apple's iPhone outsell all other smartphones. Automatically, everyone would think they must be the best smartphone on the market. Right, it must be the best cell phones on the market. So that's one of the examples we can use. Okay, we can use this one to explain, but that's part A in the exercise, right? Now, we can take another one like B. They said briefly describe how the stated fallacy occurs in the same argument. Well, the fact that many people buy the iPhone does not necessarily mean it is the best smartphone. Popularity doesn't mean the quality, right? So it's not because something is popular that means it's the best, right? So the fact that popularity doesn't doesn't mean it's not equivalent to quality, right? The fact that, okay, for the others, I'm not gonna write. I read for only for this one. The fact that many people buy iPhone, right? The fact that many people buy iPhones The fact that many people buy iPhone does not necessarily mean there's not. Well, actually, we don't say it's not true. We said it's not doesn't mean necessarily mean okay. It is the best smartphone. Right? Because people buy iPhone doesn't mean it's the best one, right? So that's what we said. Oh, you know what? Briefly describe how the stated fallacies occur in yeah, the same argument. So, that's what we call fallacy, right? They say something and they make a conclusion based on these examples without giving you all the evidence, right? So that's very important to look at this way. And we could do any of these examples, but some of them I leave them for you, right? If we go with let's see which one we can do. Maybe ignorance, right? If we try the ignorance, let's try uh number three. Okay, I'm gonna try number three in this one. So this is what three do. As I said, I leave some space. Okay. For number three here, what it says, remember we need to identify, all we need to do in this case is to identify the premise and conclusions of the argument. So decades of searching have not revealed life on other planets. You know what? Before I do that, let me make another copy then. I don't know if I had a copy. Okay, yep, good. Uh, what I'm doing. Okay, I'm here. Okay, decades of searching have not revealed life on other planets. So life in the universe must be confined to Earth. Well, it's not because you cannot verify something or this information is not available to you, meaning that what they said is not true. So that's why we said it's because of your ignorance, you think that way. So, as the premises is the fact, remember that, what you find before you make your conclusion. So, premises here, decades of searching have not revealed life on other planets, right? So, let's say that way decades. I'm gonna do it this way, so to make it faster, all right? Of living does not make life on another planet. So this is the premises. If I do that, then we can go faster, right? This is the premises and the conclusions at this point, life in the universe, we're gonna say life in the universe must be confined to Earth. Okay. So in this case, that's a conclusion. Life in the universe must be confined to life. So that's ignorance, right? So this one right here is the conclusions. Now, but that's part A. But for B, we can conclude that, they said briefly describe how the state fallacy occurs in the same argument. So, for this one also, failures to find life on other planet does not imply that life does not exist elsewhere in the universe. So it's not because you're looking for some evidence you don't find it and you said it's not true. So failure to find life, okay, failure to find life on other planets, okay, failures to find life on other planets, we're gonna conclude like failures to find life on other planets, okay, does not imply, does not imply that life that life does not exist. All right? Does not exist elsewhere in the universe. Elsewhere in the universe. Okay? Failure to find life on other planet does not imply that life does not exist elsewhere in the universe, right? So at some point you can even choose. I mean, I'll let you part C where you can choose your own fallacies, okay? But for now, those we identify. Once you understand ignorance, remember completing assignments would give you an idea of that. And for every fallacies, you need to identify the premise, which is the set of facts or assumptions to support a conclusion. And you need to identify the conclusions. But again, we ask you to briefly describe how the state fallacy occurs. Okay, so what you think can be a state fallacy. We're gonna maybe try to do one more in this section. So, emotions. Do you like emotions? So when we said appeal to emotions, probably that's another one we can do. All right, we can do another one. Let's do emotions very quick. Um, Emotions. I'm gonna just put, I need some space. So I do, in these examples, I do 1, 3, and 5. Just leave you some of them for yourself because look, we can identify the premises and conclusions. So what would be the premises here, please? Because you've been looking at this. What they said, thousands of unarmed people, many of them children, are killed by firearms every year. It's time we ban the sales of guns. So remember, premises is what you can verify, you can identify. It is the fact. So because you have the facts, you can identify this. We call it premises. Okay. So the premises is the sets of facts or assumptions. Okay. So those things you can go online, you can go through some reports, and you identify it. It's true. You can verify that thousands of unarmed people, many of children, are killed by firearms. So we would take all of this as our premises. This is the premises right there. So the premises for this 1,000 of unarmed people, many are children, are killed by firearms. So we're gonna call this one premises. Premise. Now, this part right there, which is, I'm gonna just take this one here uh, you know, the sales of all guns should be banned. Okay, so it's time to ban the sale of guns, or we sell the sales of all guns. If you want to rephrase it, the sales of guns, the sale of we're gonna say the sales of all guns. Okay, so they all should be banned. Okay, so we're gonna conclude should be banned. Okay, so the premise, the premises, and we're gonna do the premise and the conclusions. Now, part B, they said briefly describe how the state fallacy occurs in the same argument. All right, how the state fallacy occurs in the same argument. We're gonna do part B right there. Please read a little bit. What would you say? The conclusions is reached based on the reach on the basis of an emotional statement, right? So the conclusions, well, that's one way of saying it, right? Is reached based I mean, in which on the basis. Okay, well, let me move that. Let me change it. On the basis of an emotional statement. All right. So that's kind of a few examples on you know identify fallacies, and you can see fallacies and that's include premise and conclusions in the same argument. Another example, so we have so many examples we could cover in these sections, but you know what? We're gonna do it for some other ones. We said in these examples right there, okay, in the following arguments, because we have so many like that, okay, in the following arguments, let me check it, okay. In the following arguments, identify the premise and conclusions that we've been doing, explain why the argument is deceptive, and if possible, identify the type of fallacy it represents. We just covered maybe six or seven. I don't remember. Appeal to popularity. I remember false causes, appeal to ignorance, hasty generalization. We do circulating reasoning, diversion, straw man, personal attack, appeal to emotions, limited choices. Those are all common fallacies that we would see in media nowadays, in the media era for right now. So, here, what we want to do, we're going to identify the premises and conclusions, explain why the argument is deceptive, okay? Because remember, we said an argument is a deceptive argument is a fallacy, okay? A deceptive argument, deceptive argument, you can say is a fallacy argument, or you can say it's a deceptive argument. Okay. And if possible, you can say, well, which one? Which one of all of these we just described? Okay. The first examples here for deceptive arguments, we're gonna just go and try to explain. We're gonna go all the nurses. You know what? Let me make a spot. I'm going to copy this one right there and put it back here, just in case. Okay. I'm gonna make some space for that one. All right, let's do it. All the nurses in Belvedere Hospital are women, so women are better qualified for medical jobs, Wow, what's a stereotype, right? So it should, like everyone can, not only women, right? But that's why we're gonna identify it's a fallacy. First of all, what is the premises? We need to identify the premises. Okay. Let me change the color so I can be certain. Okay. What is okay, let me take green. What is the premise? I mean, we might have more than one. Okay, thank you. So the premise here is all the nurses in Belvedere are women, right? That would be the premise. So the premise is all the nurses in Belvedere here, they are women. So that's the premise. Now, the conclusions, what conclusions we do by doing so, women are better qualified for medical jobs. Okay? Women are better qualified for medical jobs. So for us, this is the conclusion. So, because, it's not because all of them are female, so we would conclude this. So anyway, that would be the conclusions. Okay? That's conclusions. Now, they said, explain why the argument is deceptive, right? Why it's a fallacy. All right. So I believe that the conclusions has been reached with, it's because a small number of female nurses were used as evidence to support a claim about all men and women. So we believe it is deceptive. So now, what type of fallacy it is? You can review all the fallacies, but looking at the one I complete before, it's about generalization, right? So you take something because something, like we said, because A and B are linked one or few times, right? Then you said, oh, A causes B, so or vice versa. So that's a general has, then, I mean has the generalizations. Uh, you know, I believe, we can say this argument is deceptive. This argument is deceptive because what they do? They use because a small number of female, because it's only for one hospital, small number of female, right? Nurses of female nurses were used as evidence to support a claim, right? We can write it, a claim about all men and women, or all male and female, or everyone. If you don't want to put men and women, and we want to make it more general, we can say everyone, all people. Right, man. Okay, you either say all men and women, or you can include everyone out in general. All right. So, these conclusions, I can say it's this conclusion is reached. What type of fallacy it you know, is reached. Okay, as I said, I look at it, it looks like it is hasty generalization. Please take times and go over it again and again, and of course, you will find the correct answer. I can do another one. I can do either two or three, but you know what? Because usually I do one and two, and I leave the others for you. If we do two here, if we try to do two, I'm gonna just uh, okay, let's do this. If I keep green for this one, all right, we're gonna keep green for this one. We said that my uncle never drank, okay? We're gonna do that. My uncle never drank alcohol and lived to be 93 years old. And that's a fact. That's something you can verify automatically because I can verify this at least by reading your arguments. You can already identify your premise and your conclusion. So that's how I know that avoiding alcohol leads to greater longevity, which is not true. Like they don't even put it like in a particular case or sometimes, but they said that's how I know that avoiding alcohol leads to greater, longevity. There are people died only in the 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, never drank any sip of alcohol, but they still die early. So this is a conclusion, right? This is how I know my, conclusions. Avoiding alcohol leads to greater uh, longevity. So we said avoiding alcohol leads to greater longevity. We said this is the conclusions, right? In this arguments you read, you must identify both. You identify the premise and the conclusions. All right. Now, the second question is really explain why the argument is deceptive. So why it is a fallacy, right? It is a fallacy. Why? If you read it, right? Right. As the abstinence from alcohol may have nothing to do with the uncle's longevity, even though both are occurring at the same time, right? So even though they are occurring at the same time, even though, all right, even though, longevity and drinking and not drinking alcohol, even though, both are occurring, but I'm gonna put both now. But you hear what I said. Uh, Not drinking alcohol and have a very long longevity occurring at the same time, right? Uh, the abstinence from alcohol, right? When the abstinence, is there S in abstinence? I'm gonna put an S. Uh, from alcohol. Okay, may have nothing, okay, to do with, right? May have nothing to do uh, with the uncle, not my uncle. I'm gonna say the uncle's longevity, right? Now, let's identify the type of fallacy it represents, right? What type of fallacy? From all of them, I would go with false cause here, right? I'm gonna go with false cause because, as I said, we have so many of these. A can be forbidden for A causes B. That's not true. It's not because he doesn't drink alcohol that he lives that long, all right? Because it's not all the times the same. Probably we need to do, I'm gonna do one more, but I might have enough time to do one more. Let's do the Senate, right? Okay, what would you say about these states? Let me let me make it smaller. No, I can even put those smaller so I have enough space. Okay, we're gonna do number three. For number three, the state has no right to take a life, so the death penalty should be abolished. Well, that's a good one. It all depends on your perspective on this, right? It all depends on how you see it. Now, please help me identify on number three the premise, the facts, what you can verify. Well, the state has no right to take a life, all right? And we can consider this one as our, premise. Has no right to take a life, so that would be the premise. And death penalty, the death penalty should be abolished, so that must be the conclusions, right? Because you have a premise, then you have a conclusion. I don't need to rewrite it. So at some point, The death penalty should be abolished, right? So, what we're gonna do, explain why the argument is deceptive. Hmm. In this case, both premise and conclusion say essentially the same thing. I mean, when I look at these two, they mean the same thing, right? So both the premise and the conclusions say, say essentially the same thing. Essentially the same thing. Um, but I think one of these we talked about before that was not, going back to the same thing. It's mostly circular, so we're gonna consider this one as a circular reasoning, right? P is true. P reinstate in different words, so it's the same thing. So we're gonna consider this one as a circular. So this is a circular reasoning. Right? So it means the same thing. This is a circular reasoning. Usually, I leave some of them for you to try before you go with the homework. You let me know what you think. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. In a different video, I'll come back with section, the units. We call this one in this case the units 1B, that would be propositions and truth tables. I'm looking forward to see you soon. Take care.